Sagittarius, you're exhausted from dual care. Restore balance with cosmic tools. The flame that burns for everyone but you. There is a kind of tiredness that doesn't live in the body but in the soul. A deep, quiet weariness that comes from giving endlessly while rarely receiving. You know it well, Sagittarius. You wake before the sun, holding together the fragile threads of 2 generations, soothing a parent's aches while tending to your child's needs, balancing bills, emotions, and invisible expectations. Everyone calls you strong. Everyone relies on your light. But lately you've begun to wonder, what happens when the firekeeper runs out of flame? This is the paradox of your life right now. The woman of the open sky, the sign of the archer, now tethered by care. You were born to explore, to expand, to seek truth in wide horizons. But instead, your world has narrowed into a circle of caregiving. Each day blends into the next, and though your love remains constant, your laughter has grown quieter. Even your optimism, that signature Sagittarian buoyancy, feels like something you must summon instead of something that flows naturally. Across the world, countless women stand in this same crosscurrent. In the United States, nearly 23% of midlife adults are caught in dual caregiving, tending to both aging parents and their own children. In Europe, sociologists predict that by 2050, as populations age and family structures contract, even more women will carry this unseen emotional labor. It's an epidemic of devotion, invisible, unmeasured, and profoundly human. But here's what makes your story different, Sagittarius. Your spirit refuses to stay small. You are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of truth and expansion. And Jupiter's message is always the same. What feels like confinement is often an invitation to awaken. This season of exhaustion isn't punishment. It's initiation. You are being called to remember that your capacity to give does not depend on your ability to forget yourself. There is a deeper kind of freedom waiting for you now. Not the wild, untethered freedom of travel or adventure, but the inner freedom that comes from alignment. It begins when you shift from asking, "How do I escape this?" to, "How do I expand within this?" Jupiter teaches that balance is not found through withdrawal, but through perspective. When your world feels small, the cosmos invites you to look up. This article is not about doing more. It's about remembering who you are. A woman whose fire was never meant to burn out in service, but to illuminate the path of wisdom through experience. Astrology becomes your map, not to control your circumstances, but to understand their meaning. It helps you see that your exhaustion carries messages, your responsibilities contain lessons, and your fatigue holds wisdom yet to unfold. Through the guidance of Jupiter and the clarity of your own truth, you can transform this season of depletion into one of renewal. You can learn to breathe again, not as the caretaker who must do everything, but as the seeker who finds light in all things. So take a deep breath, Sagittarius. You don't have to hold it all tonight. Let your shoulders drop. Let the stars hold some of what you've been carrying. This is your time to remember. The flame that burns for everyone else also deserves to burn for you. I am not lost in responsibility. I am rediscovering meaning through it. Chapter 1: The Hidden Burnout. When care becomes a cage. There's a moment, perhaps late at night when the house has finally gone quiet, when you pause long enough to notice how heavy everything feels. The dishes are clean, your parents are settled, your children are asleep, yet your mind refuses to rest. You lie there staring into the dark, feeling a strange kind of emptiness. Not because you don't love the people you care for, you do more deeply than words can express, but because somewhere along the way your own life has started to fade behind theirs. This is the hidden cost of care, the quiet erosion of the self that so many Sagittarius women endure without naming. You were born with a spirit that hungers for space, for meaning, growth, and movement. But caregiving by its nature narrows the world. You wake up and the rhythm is already set. Care, manage, comfort, repeat. Your days begin to orbit around everyone else's needs. And slowly the inner voice that once guided you, that voice of wonder, curiosity, and joy grows faint. Across the world, the numbers tell a sobering truth. In the United States, nearly 23% of midlife adults are caring for both their aging parents and their children. It's an invisible epidemic of emotional labor. In Europe, where populations are aging rapidly, projections show this number will climb dramatically in the coming decades. Behind each percentage lies a story like yours, women stretched between generations, silently carrying the emotional and physical weight of entire families. For Sagittarius, this burden doesn't just tire the body, it wounds the soul. Your sign, ruled by Jupiter, thrives on meaning. You can endure almost anything if you understand why. But when life turns into a blur of obligation without reflection, the fire that fuels you begins to flicker. You start to feel detached, restless, or resentful, yet guilty for feeling any of it. You tell yourself, I should be grateful, because you know others have it harder. But that's the trap of the selfless spirit, believing that gratitude means never acknowledging pain. Your exhaustion is not weakness. It's not a failure of love or faith. It's your soul's way of saying, this rhythm isn't sustainable. Sagittarius energy was never meant to live entirely in service. It was meant to dance between giving and receiving, to seek wisdom and balance. When that balance breaks, burnout becomes the body's rebellion. A sacred message from Jupiter, urging you to restore proportion. You may recognize its signs. The heaviness that lingers no matter how much you sleep. The irritability that flickers at small things. The emotional numbness that replaces joy. These are not flaws. They are invitations, signs that your spirit is ready to expand again, to find meaning beyond survival. There's a quiet question waiting beneath your fatigue. When did I start equating endurance with love? Because love is not endurance. It is presence. It is the ability to show up with openness, and that requires space to breathe. Endurance without space becomes martyrdom, and martyrdom silences the Sagittarius spirit. Jupiter asks you now to see the difference, to give from fullness, not depletion, from choice, not obligation. You cannot pour wisdom into others if you are running on emptiness. And yet, that's exactly what the world often expects of women, to keep giving without pause, to make caregiving look effortless. But you, dear Sagittarius, are not meant to follow the world's expectations. You are meant to live by truth. And the truth is this: burnout is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of overcapacity, a call to recalibrate before the flame extinguishes entirely. So tonight, take a quiet moment for yourself. Sit near a window if you can, somewhere you can see the night sky, your element, your realm. Imagine Jupiter shining above, vast and golden. Feel its wisdom settling over you like a soft cloak. In that stillness, ask yourself one gentle question. What do I need right now that I've been denying myself? Write the answer down. Don't censor it. Don't judge it. Let truth speak. Because truth, even when it feels uncomfortable, is the medicine Jupiter brings to you. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are human, sacred, and in need of care just as much as those you tend to. Your exhaustion does not define you. It's simply a signal. A whisper from the cosmos reminding you that you were born for expansion, not depletion. The cage was never your destiny. It's only the space between breaths, the pause before the next expansion. And soon, with Jupiter's guidance, that expansion will begin again. Not outward but inward. Chapter 2: Jupiter's Wisdom. From burden to broader vision. When life begins to feel small, Sagittarius, it's not because you've lost your spark. It's because your vision has been clouded by the endless weight of obligation. You are at your core a seeker. You were born to chase meaning, to find truth in the unseen, to believe that even hardship carries purpose. But lately, the world has felt narrow, like you've been walking in circles around everyone else's needs. Your own horizon shrinking day by day. This is where Jupiter, your ruling planet, begins to speak. Jupiter's wisdom is not subtle. It arrives in realizations, in flashes of perspective that remind you who you are. It whispers, you are not stuck. You are learning. Every season of pressure holds the seed of expansion, if you choose to see it that way. Jupiter governs faith, growth, and higher understanding. The cosmic teacher who transforms burdens into lessons. What you are experiencing right now isn't punishment. It's a sacred apprenticeship. You are being asked to widen your perspective, to lift your gaze above exhaustion, and see the invisible threads of meaning woven through your daily life. When you step back far enough, you begin to see caregiving not only as duty, but as initiation. A training in patience, surrender, and compassion. The same energy that once fueled your adventures now moves inward, guiding you through emotional landscapes that require as much courage as any journey abroad. One of Jupiter's greatest teachings is this: expansion does not always require movement. Sometimes it begins in perception. You can start this shift by asking a simple but powerful question. What am I learning through this season of care? Perhaps you are learning to receive help instead of offering it. Perhaps you are discovering what love looks like when it is stripped of grandeur and expressed in the smallest acts. Holding a parent's hand, listening to a child's story, making time to rest without apology. These are not small lessons, they are sacred milestones in soul growth. This is also where astrology becomes a living map rather than abstract symbolism. Your birth chart, the blueprint of your energy, reveals how you uniquely respond to pressure, where your resilience lies, and when relief naturally flows in. By examining Jupiter's current transits in your chart, you can identify strength periods, times when the cosmos supports delegation, communication, or rest. For example, when Jupiter forms harmonious trines or sextiles to your Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, it's an ideal period to ask for support, delegate tasks, or restructure your caregiving schedule. The universe is already on your side. These windows simply remind you to work with its rhythm, not against it. You might even find that certain transits invite new allies, siblings who step in, friends who offer help, or systems that ease your load. Jupiter's energy expands not only your faith but also your network. Pay attention during these times. Accept what flows toward you. You don't have to earn ease. Sometimes you only have to allow it. And when Jupiter moves through your natal Sagittarius placements, your Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, consider it a sacred reset. This is a period when your optimism can return effortlessly, when you rediscover meaning in your daily routines, and when solutions seem to appear where there were only walls before. Sagittarius, your challenge is not to endure, but to reframe. To remember that caregiving, when seen through Jupiter's lens, is not a loss of freedom, but a deepening of understanding. You are still the philosopher, you are simply exploring the realm of the heart rather than the map. You may find it healing to journal during this time. Each night ask yourself, what did today teach me about faith? About love? About myself? These reflections transform daily fatigue into wisdom. They shift your energy from why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me? That question alone opens the door to Jupiter's expansive grace. Remember, Jupiter's magic lies in perspective. When you step back even slightly, life rearranges itself into something meaningful. The mess becomes a mosaic. The exhaustion becomes evidence of devotion. And in that understanding, your spirit begins to breathe again. You don't have to fix everything at once. You only have to lift your eyes, from the ground of survival to the sky of purpose. So tonight, when you feel the weight pressing down, imagine Jupiter glowing softly above you. Vast, golden, unhurried. Let that light remind you that your life, too, is larger than it seems. The boundaries you feel are temporary. The lessons you're learning are eternal. Whisper softly to yourself, I am not trapped in duty. I am expanding through devotion. And in that quiet moment of faith, the horizon begins to return. Not out there but within you. Chapter 3: Cosmic and Mindful Tools for Renewal. You face the truth, Sagittarius, that your exhaustion isn't a flaw but a sacred signal. You've remembered Jupiter's lesson, that even heaviness can become a teacher when met with perspective. Now it's time to bring these understandings into motion, to turn wisdom into rhythm, and to restore the balance between giving and receiving. Healing for you does not come from stopping the world. It comes from finding ways to breathe within it. You are a fire sign, and your vitality depends on movement, curiosity, and connection. When you neglect these, your light dulls. When you honor them, your spirit ignites again. The following cosmic and mindful tools are not about adding more tasks to your already full days. They're invitations, small intentional rituals that remind your spirit of its own vastness. Begin by reconnecting with your elemental nature. Sagittarius belongs to fire, spontaneous, visionary, alive. But fire to burn cleanly needs air. It needs space. Your first medicine then is permission. Permission to pause, to exhale, to create small moments where your soul can expand beyond responsibility. One of the simplest ways to do this is through micro-mindfulness. When you make tea for your parents or your children, don't rush. Notice the scent of the herbs, the warmth of the cup. When you walk to another room, notice how your feet touch the ground. These moments of awareness are not trivial. They are acts of remembrance. Each one whispers, I am still here. To deepen your renewal, work consciously with Jupiter's energy. On Thursdays, Jupiter's sacred day, Set aside 10 minutes for a personal alignment ritual. Sit in silence with your eyes closed. Breathe deeply into your chest. Then imagine a golden sphere of light hovering just above your head. This is Jupiter's light, radiant, wise, endlessly generous. With each breath, draw it down through your body. Feel it filling your lungs, your heart, your belly. Feel it clearing the tension that gathers behind your ribs. As the light expands, affirm softly, I am guided. I am protected. I am enough. When you finish, write a single sentence in your journal beginning with today I am grateful for. It might be something small. A smile, a moment of quiet, a soft breeze through the window. These daily sparks of gratitude are Jupiter's favorite language. The more you speak it, the more life begins to respond in kind. Astrology, too, offers practical structure. Look to your birth chart to identify windows of support, those periods when Jupiter forms trines or sextiles to your personal planets. These are cosmic openings where energy flows more easily, when communication, help, or optimism naturally return. Use these times for important conversations, to ask for assistance, to delegate, or to reprioritize. The universe is generous, but it requires your participation. Aligning with these cycles isn't superstition, it's synchronization. Pair your cosmic awareness with physical care. Sagittarius energy needs both motion and release. Consider gentle yoga flows, stretching, or dance. Anything that keeps your body in motion without depletion. As you move, imagine energy unclogging from your chest and shoulders, releasing the emotional residue of constant responsibility. Movement for you is an exercise, it's spiritual exhalation. And because your sign carries a natural love for exploration, feed that part of your soul through virtual escapes. Watch documentaries about places you dream of visiting. Listen to languages that fascinate you. Create a playlist of global music, sounds that lift your spirit into a sense of wonder again. You don't have to leave home to travel. Your imagination is its own passport. Anchor these moments of renewal with the Earth's gifts. Sagittarius resonates with citron, turquoise, and amethyst, stones that channel joy, truth, and peace. Keep one in your pocket or place it by your bedside. Let it serve as a quiet reminder that your energy is sacred. Herbal allies can also restore your vitality. Drink ginger tea for courage and warmth, rosemary for clarity, lemon balm for emotional calm. Each sip reconnects you with the planet's rhythm, a reminder that life itself is participating in your healing. If you feel scattered or overwhelmed, light a candle, your element embodied. As the flame steadies, imagine it representing your inner fire. Once depleted, now rekindled. Whisper softly, my light is steady, my heart is clear, and my energy renews with ease. Remember, Sagittarius, your path is not about perfection, it's about alignment. The more you return to small rituals of awareness, the more you'll notice that life begins to respond differently. Fatigue softens into flow. Duty feels lighter. The same tasks that once drained you now become spaces for quiet reflection. You begin to feel like yourself again, not because the world changed, but because your inner world expanded. These cosmic tools are not escapes, they're anchors. They hold you in the truth that you can be both caretaker and explorer, both grounded and infinite. So tonight, when you finish another long day, sit by a window, let the cool air touch your face, and look toward the sky. Somewhere above you, Jupiter glows, vast, golden, patient. Its message is simple. You are not alone in your fatigue. You are surrounded by grace. Breathe that in, Sagittarius. This is your renewal. Not a blaze of energy, but a steady flame of peace returning to its rightful place within you. Chapter 4: Shared Stories, Collective Healing. Healing, Sagittarius, was never meant to happen in isolation. You are a sign of connection, expansion, and shared wisdom. A student of the world who learns as much from listening as from living. When you feel lost, it is often because you have been carrying your story in silence. But the truth is, your story is not yours alone. There are countless women walking parallel paths, quietly holding the same exhaustion, the same tenderness, the same question. How do I care for everyone without losing myself? When you begin to share, something miraculous happens. The heaviness starts to loosen. The shame of struggling begins to dissolve. And what remains is a sense of solidarity. The warmth of knowing that your journey is part of a constellation of others. In recent years, thousands of Sagittarius women, caregivers, professionals, mothers, daughters, have begun forming virtual and local support circles. These spaces are modern campfires, where honesty replaces perfection and compassion replaces judgment. One Sagittarius mother from California shared that joining a weekly caregiver's moon circle changed everything. "I used to think I was weak for being tired," she said, her voice trembling. "Then I realized I wasn't weak. I was human. And I wasn't alone." This is the healing Jupiter offers through community. Expansion not only of perspective but of heart. When you speak your truth aloud and another woman nods, you feel that gentle click of recognition. Me too. That's the moment healing begins to move from personal to collective. Across Europe, similar circles are forming. In Paris, a group of women meets once a month to discuss astrology and caregiving. They bring tea, tarot cards, and notebooks, reading their Jupiter transits like sacred calendars. "We used to meet to complain," one woman said. "But now we meet to understand." They laugh, they cry, and they leave lighter than they arrived. That is Jupiter's power at work, turning overwhelm into wisdom through shared reflection. You can create your own version of this no matter where you are. It doesn't have to be large or formal. It can begin with one friend who understands. Maybe you meet once a week online, share a meditation, discuss your astrology charts, or simply sit in silence together. What matters is not structure, it's intention. When women come together with sincerity, Jupiter magnifies their light. If you prefer solitude, you can still participate in the collective field through reading stories. Seek out blogs, podcasts, or memoirs written by caregivers or midlife women. Let their words remind you that your experiences are valid and worthy of acknowledgement. Sagittarius is ruled by the ninth house of wisdom, the realm of shared truths and spiritual insight. Every story you read or tell strengthens that lineage of wisdom that runs through all women who love deeply and carry much. You might even begin your own journaling project, a Jupiter journal, where you record not just your reflections, but moments of connection. Each time someone shows you kindness, each time you share laughter, or even when a friend simply listens, write it down. Over time, you'll see that even amid exhaustion, your life is filled with evidence of grace. To deepen this energy of connection, you can perform a small ritual under the full moon. Gather a candle and a notebook. Light the candle, and as it flickers, imagine the faces of all the women who walk this path beside you, those you know and those you've never met. Speak softly. May we all find balance. May we all remember our light. May we all be held by Jupiter's grace. Then write a single line of gratitude for this invisible sisterhood. Blow out the candle gently, releasing the blessing into the night. This is not just ritual. It's remembrance. You are part of something vast and luminous. Sagittarius, your healing expands when shared. Every time you tell your truth, you give another woman permission to tell hers. Every time you rest, you remind another that rest is sacred. Every time you realign your life toward meaning, you help shift the collective story, from silent endurance to conscious evolution. This is the power of Jupiter in its truest form, wisdom multiplied through connection. And this is how you, even in your quiet living room, participate in something cosmic. The healing of a generation of women learning to care differently, with openness, with boundaries, and with grace. You no longer carry your story alone. It has become a constellation, glowing softly in the shared sky of healing. I heal not by isolation but through belonging. I am one light among many, and together we rise. The return to freedom and faith. There comes a moment, Sagittarius, when you realize that what once felt like the end of your freedom was, in truth, the beginning of your transformation. You have walked through fatigue, through guilt, through the invisible burden of caring for others while quietly neglecting yourself. You have learned the language of burnout and, even more importantly, the language of healing. You now stand in a gentler place, one where freedom no longer means escape, but equilibrium. Jupiter, your ruling planet, has guided you through this journey like a lantern in the fog. Its golden light has shown you that even the most exhausting seasons carry purpose. Through its wisdom, you've come to understand that true freedom isn't about what happens outside of you. It's the state of your inner world. It's how you choose to hold life, with space, meaning, and grace. You've learned that your exhaustion was not a weakness but an initiation. It taught you to listen, to slow down, to honor the rhythms of your body and soul. It reminded you that even the brightest fire needs tending, that devotion without balance leads only to ashes. But when care is rooted in awareness, it becomes sacred. an act of grace that nourishes both giver and receiver. You've learned to look at your life not as a burden but as a constellation, a pattern of experiences that, when viewed with distance, reveals beauty. The long nights, the quiet moments, the tears you didn't let anyone see. All of them have shaped the wisdom glowing in your heart now. You no longer need to run to feel free. You simply need to return to yourself. As a Sagittarius, your soul was born under Jupiter's great promise, that life is a journey of meaning. You came here to explore not just the world but the depths of your own faith. And now, even while standing still, you are expanding again, into a woman who can hold complexity with peace, who can love without losing herself, who can give without forgetting to receive. The world still asks for much from you, but now you meet it differently. You know how to pause before reacting, how to breathe before saying yes, how to create space for your joy amid responsibility. You have woven cosmic tools into your daily rhythm, moments of mindfulness, gratitude, and gentle ritual that keep your spirit aligned with Jupiter's expansive energy. You have also learned that you are never alone. Across continents and time zones, women like you, fellow Sagittarius souls, are awakening to the same truth, that care and freedom are not opposites. They are two wings of the same bird, carrying you toward wholeness. Each of you, in your own quiet way, is rewriting what it means to give, not as sacrifice, but as sacred stewardship of love. So as you stand beneath the night sky tonight, lift your gaze to Jupiter. See its steady golden glow, not distant but familiar, like the heartbeat of your own wisdom. Let it remind you that faith still lives in you, that your fire was never lost, only refined. You are not returning to who you were before. You are becoming something fuller, luminous, patient, deeply alive. Whisper softly to yourself, I have not been diminished by duty. I have been deepened by love. I honor my fire by tending it with care. I walk forward in freedom, guided by Jupiter's light. And as those words settle into you, feel your breath steady, your shoulders loosen, your chest expand. This is balance, not a fragile truce between exhaustion and effort, but a living harmony between giving and being. You are the archer once more, bow steady, heart open, eyes lifted. But this time you no longer aim for faraway lands. You aim for peace, the kind that blooms from within. Your fire has not burned out, Sagittarius. It has been tempered into light, strong enough to guide others, gentle enough to warm yourself. This is your return to freedom, your return to faith, your return to you. The horizon is within me now. I am whole. I am free.